What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. We've already talked about AEW All in Texas. We've already ran down the card for NXT Great American Bash. So now it's time to switch over to Sunday's Evolution pay-per-view, or premium live event, as they want to call it. We have a premium live event. We have another premium live event, a pay-per-view, another pay-per-view, and a special show that's not either of those. It's a lot of things happening this weekend, but Evolution is one of the bigger shows that we have going on. Not the biggest show, but I'd say it's probably number 2. And we have a lot of matches to break down, a lot of unknowns to talk about as well. And, we're going to give our predictions, do all the usual stuff that we do here. If you don't know who we are, I'm Tony Mango, joined as always by Robert DeFelice.
Hello.
And Callum Wiggins.
Here come the girls.
Women. And it's never going to get old. Shout out to Moonraker. What a great Bond film. So as always, we always want to know what you guys have to say as well. So as we're going along here and giving our thoughts, we want to know what you have to say. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you are on any other kind of platform outside of YouTube, there are other ways for you to chime in with your thoughts. Of course, you could be hitting up Facebook, Twitter, smarkmoment.com, whatever it might be. But you could also be on our Discord server. Just join those different channels over there. You can find the link on the sidebar of smarkmoment.com or below on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, make sure you also hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, get those email alerts set up for the post shows immediately following the events on Saturday night and on Sunday night. Evolution is the only one that's going to get its own separate one because it's the only one that is separate from everything else. So a dedicated Evolution post show and then a combo thing for the 3 other things that are happening on Saturday, and nothing for ROH because it doesn't deserve it. And I'm not going to be doing that on Friday night. It doesn't. It's obvious that it doesn't. So we're going to talk about Saturday night's main event and ROH Supercard of Honor on the hot tags, and any kind of updates that are going on with these cards and stuff will also be addressed to the hot tags if we can get around to that. But in the meantime as well, keep in mind that you can help us on the monetary side of things by clicking on the thanks button on YouTube or the join button, or both. I'm not going to stop you from doing both. The join button gives you access to the same stuff as the Patreon, the Pick Poison tier, the Darkcast tier, even $1 a month. It's greatly appreciated, so keep all that in mind. And let's start getting into Evolution. Now, of course, this is an all-women's pay-per-view, and this is the first one that they've done since the original, which was in 2018, was it?
Yeah.
That event was historic in and of itself. This event doesn't quite matter as much, but hey, it's been a couple years, and they're doing it for some reason. I don't know why now and why not before, or why again. It's nothing that says like, okay, well, 2025 is when you need to do it, and you need to do it on this weekend or whatever. I'm assuming it's probably just because they figured they wanted to get around to doing it for the sake of the PR that we talked about before, and that they decided now is the time to do it because they just wanted to load as much as possible opposite the weekend of All In, and maybe Evolution would give them a little bit more buzz that could be like, hey, this is something that WWE's done that AEW hasn't done yet or something. There's got to be a strategy to it, or it's just quite literally WWE being like, I don't fucking care, moving on. Let's do it on this weekend. But that's actually the first thing I want to get into here is I've seen a lot of criticism for this, and I agree about it. The build for this show has been pretty lackluster. Most of the matches feel like they are basically throwing them together at the last minute. Some of them, of course, have history behind them, and some of them have been going on, like at least one feud's been going on for several months. One of them ties back to a match that happened when was Trish and Tiffany, when were they teaming up?
Elimination Chamber.
I was like, I don't know if it was last January or if it was, whatever. But, like there's ties in with things like that. And then there's other things that are, Battle Royal, where everybody gets thrown in there that they don't have anything else for. But it does still feel like it's not something that they dedicated a lot of time and effort into. Kind of feels like maybe they put about the same amount of effort that we put into, or maybe even less than we put into our fantasy cards in some ways. But a lot of good talent on the card. and it's got potential to it, despite it not being, WrestleMania or anything. Generally speaking, after a weekend that's going to have a lot of events, I have, my limited amount of space that I can deal with constant pro wrestling will probably make it to the point that when we get to Sunday, I'm going to be so burned out that that's going to jade me a little bit on it. But I'm going to try to approach it as a standalone thing. And if I look at the matches themselves, overall, I think it's got some potential. How do you guys feel?
There's some fun matches on the card. I think that they've dropped the ball in making it feel special because, even if you just take the 2 world title matches on the card, you could have done more to make this feel like, wow, it's a special night for the women. Because you could have made this feel like, I'm not going to say you could have made it feel like Mania, but you could have made it feel like a major show for the women. Because plenty of women on this card don't usually get to be on PLEs. So I think they dropped the ball on making it feel important.
I think the air of this card is they thought they were probably just going to fall into it by PR standards alone, about the fact that they're just doing this show again, and that's good enough. I think the build has mostly been pretty lackluster. As you say, there are matches which can be good. That doesn't take away from a bad build. Doesn't necessarily take away from a show in terms of the pure match quality. I have reservations about some of the matches, but we'll get into that when we go through them. But yeah, I think that there's definitely some matches that could be really good if they're given time and allowances. But everything about this just feels off from the fact that it's clearly been forced in to take away some of the buzz from All In, as opposed to trying to give it its own special thing. That's happening on a Sunday night. Like, no WWE main roster pay-per-view takes place on a Saturday night anymore. It takes place on a Sunday night anymore. It's always on Saturday. So it just feels like an afterthought in pretty much most departments. It just feels like a very hastily thrown together thing that they feel they can cover over because, oh, look what we're doing for the women, isn't this great? And it's just not good enough.
Who would you say is the biggest omission from this?
I mean,
Stephanie McMahon.
She'll show up. I'm not sure Bianca Belair will.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way that Stephanie's not on this card.
But she's not on the match card, and that's where they're going wrong.
Who, Stephanie, are you talking about? That Stephanie should be wrestling?
Yeah, okay. I caught the sarcasm in your second statement.
yeah, it's definitely the McMahon one. So
they're advertising the hell out of Bianca on this, though. Like,
because she was probably slated to be ready.
And you're gonna advertise Bianca if you can. Like, even if she just makes an appearance or just sitting in the crowd, you can kind of get away with it for that. But
when we still got, Friday, maybe she's like, hey, guess what? I'm in the Battle Royal.
I mean, it's a possibility, especially because, as far as I'm aware, it's only a broken finger that she's dealing with, right? Nothing else?
Well, she broke a lot of fingers, didn't she?
I thought she only broke one.
No, it was more than one.
Huh. Yeah. Kind of feel like, I don't know, like a broken finger is not something that you can just like, it's not the same as like I've got, sinus postnasal drip going on and it's like you can wrestle with that, Tony. Like, well, I mean, I can't wrestle because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but you know what I mean? But like, I don't know, maybe like there's a protective thing that you could wear that you could maybe at least be in the Battle Royal or something. If people have the things for broken noses and stuff, there might be something for, a hand.
I guess I kind of asked the question then in that regards, like, is this show worth risking Bianca potentially aggravating that injury to come back for? Probably not in the grand scheme of things. Even if it's just
not the way they built it, but I think there's certain people out there who would say that.
If they cared about it, they would have pushed it. They probably would have tried to drive it a little bit better, but realistically, the way they have presented it, that's like, we'd rather have you 90 to 100% for SummerSlam than 70% for this, and potentially make things worse if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So I can understand the caution just for that perspective. In terms of like actual people that are on the roster right now that aren't appearing on this, I don't think there's really anybody that that either isn't already announced or won't be participating in the battle royal that hasn't been announced yet. Obviously, you don't know if any sort of like legends are returning.
Exactly.
But yeah, because like they're throwing Nikki Bella into the battle royal to make up for that. So obviously, no Bella Twins involvement or anything along those lines. So yeah, it's just it's difficult to see if there's like anybody else. There's certainly nobody super notable that I think should be here that isn't already booked or
I mean,
is likely to be booked.
I'll make the argument that Julia should be in a singles match. I'll make that argument. I'll make the argument that there are some people who are in the Battle Royal that they could have done more with. But
Dude, we've already got 7 matches on this show. It's already like this is real like dangerous territory for Triple H already to be booking this many matches on one card. Let's not go overboard.
Well, there 7 matches on this card is definitely pushing past the limit that they normally do anymore. And
yeah, imagine how much they got to pay them here. It's a good thing it's 50% off because it's the women instead. But, like,
somebody like Julia definitely should have. We have more titles than we've ever had in WWE for the women, and the women's United States Championship not on the line, women's North American Championship not on the line, Evolve Champion not at all factored into this yet. Now they could, of course, announce that again tonight on Evolve that maybe Callie Armstrong's going to be involved in that, or we could get an announcement of somebody switching things up on Friday Night SmackDown. I'm not anticipating that the card is going to change in any capacity other than to add more people to the Battle Royal. And I think that the WWE doesn't care about Battle Royals ahead of time. I think that they mostly, as long as they have the handful of people that they definitely want in there, the rest of it's just, whatever. And if they can get somebody like an Alundra Blaze to show up in there, then maybe they throw her in. If they can't, it's not the end of the world. It's a Battle Royal. Everybody starts off at the same time. And most people tend to get eliminated within like 3 minutes. So to me, the unknowns of the Battle Royal, as much as it is that we don't know who's in there, I don't think that there are anybody that stands out to me as like an obvious, what are you doing? Why is that person not in there? At least off the top of my head, not really. I mean, we talked a little bit on the NXT side of things that like it sucks that Thea Hale's not in a better position where she's not one of the people from NXT. I do think that Callie Armstrong should probably pop up in there because if they want to put any kind of weight to Evolve, you should not act like it doesn't exist. I'm disappointed that somebody like a Kiana James is not back yet, but with her not being back, you can't say that she definitely should be in here. For all we know, she's still injured, But we're not missing anybody like, it's not like somebody like Asuka is here and they just didn't announce her yet. And it's like, what are you doing? Everybody I think is accounted for except for Scarlett, who's not really a wrestler, and Meechin and BFAB. Oh no,
Yeah,
actually, they haven't said anything yet for Chelsea or the Secret Service.
Yeah,
those are not yet, and Nikki Cross is not yet booked for this yet.
I assume the Secret Service will all be in the Battle Royal because you can tell a story of them protecting Chelsea. Yeah. They'll probably just announce that on SmackDown. But actually, there is one name which I think it makes sense in the context of what we've seen in the last month, but just from a wider lens, it's absolutely absurd that she's not on this card, and that's Blake Monroe.
Yeah, but
there's no reason why Mariah May, Blake Monroe shouldn't be on this show in a featured match because realistically, again, I know the way they handle things and it's their decision to do what they want, but she should just have debuted on the main roster and be feuding with someone at a high level, really.
Yeah, I made this argument yesterday on the NXT podcast. Like, yeah. She should absolutely be doing more.
It is just like nuts that, and it seems to be an issue that's mainly affected her, and I'd say Ricky Saints is on the similar boat, where you have so much speculation surrounding them, and everyone kind of knows they're about to make the move. Anyone that's in the know, obviously, not so much people that aren't really as clued up on the dirt sheets and everything along those lines, but those in the know fans can help spark something by having them debut in a big, not even just like, she could have debuted in NXT, but in a big angle, rather than, just coming in, just on doing like a promo train thing, and now doing these like, these buddy unfunny segments with Jordynne Grace, which is basically Shawn Michaels seemingly only knows one way to book women tag teams, which is do really lame comedy segments as with these what they had it with EO and Zoe, and they've done it with like Lyra and Tainton Paxley and stuff like that. These like odd couple tag teams for the women. But yeah, it's just absurd that where she was at the end of her AEW run, and that she's not even going to come close to sniffing this card unless she like gets involved at the end of or during the NXT Women's Championship match. But the fact that she doesn't have a match or is not even being considered for a match is a bit absurd, really.
I completely agree.
Yeah, she's definitely somebody that you would think they would have, at the very least, that they would have announced that she would have been one of the people in Battle Royal.
And for God's sake, it's Battle Royal. You can get thrown over the top.
Right. So, I don't know if maybe they have a plan on using Mariah May as, like, she just comes out with Jordynne Grace, and it's like, well, there's your moment as her friend in there, and that's supposed to be good enough. Maybe they don't want to give her too prominent of a spotlight because they don't want to make it seem like she's getting, like lapping people on the roster or whatever. But it is kind of ridiculous, especially because it's like, well, what's the negative? And then what are the positives? There really isn't a negative to highlight a character that you think is going to be a big deal. And the positives are the more people that pay attention to that, the more that you get that name out there and start building some stock to this new character and all. But as far as legends are concerned, honestly, I don't think that they really need to throw anybody else in there. And if they want to, they can invite people. They can be ringside. They could do the whole like midway through commercial break or something, cut around and, hey, look at who's in the crowd. It's Molly Holly. And well, right now, who else is in the crowd? It's Kelly and Victoria, whoever they want to throw in there. I'm sure that they're going to do that at some point for certain people. But I don't think we need to see them wrestle. Like, do we really need Tori Wilson in the Battle Royal?
Okay, I'm gonna cut you off right here again. The show isn't for you. It's not even for me. Like, the show is for the people who live and die by women's wrestling, and they would want to see Tori Wilson make an appearance. They would want to see Kelly make an appearance. My God, if there was ever a match to get AJ to skip out to the ring, it's this. It's not even a Rumble where you've got a spotlight on you. She could skip to the ring, kind of, do a couple spots, get eliminated, and it's like, wow, we got AJ back. Cool. She did that. Like, you could absolutely have legends here. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could, but I don't think it's necessary to be like, if you didn't have, say, Ivory wrestle on here, I don't think it would be like, whoa, what's happening? You know what I mean?
Yes, especially because you used Ivory as an example. I get it, but like I said, the fan base that is really fucking stoked for the show would want to see it. If you're going to cater to your audience and claim you make people happy and you put smiles on faces, actually attempt to do that. You know what I mean? They've got a fan base that will eat out of the palm of their hands. And they don't even serve them half the time. They're just like, no, screw you for wanting that.
Well, we could get some more people thrown in there. And I don't think we're going to really know because they're not going to advertise everybody ahead of time. I'm sure some people are going to be like last minute things, and it'll be like, yeah, we could get Michelle McCool at any moment to be in the crowd or to do something, and we don't want to tell anybody. We want it to be a surprise. I'm sure some people are like, well, we were trying to reach out to these people, but they didn't do anything. I think that there was supposed to be something that said like Jazz might have been invited and maybe Alundra Blaze or something, but I don't really remember exactly what the report was that I read. Point being, the Battle Royal itself, there are opportunities for other people that haven't been announced yet to be thrown in there, and I don't think that there's going to be any more matches added to this. So if somebody like Chelsea is not involved in the Battle Royal and she doesn't get an extra match, that'll be very strange to me. And the only other thing I could think of is maybe they want to incorporate a segment with somebody where it's not a match and it's like maybe, for instance, I don't know why they would do this. First off, this isn't how I would book it. But like maybe they don't want to put Chelsea and Piper and Alba in the Battle Royal because they plan on having a segment where she comes out and she complains that she's not on the card, and then a bunch of the women's legends come into the ring and beat them up. Like they might have plans for something like that. And then you're like, oh, I technically did something on the card. And, it's kind of the equivalent of like when they've had like at WrestleMania, Stone Cold give somebody the stunner. They could factor people in like that. But we're going to look on Sunday, and if we pass by this event and the whole thing goes down and certain people just aren't involved, it'll be very weird. Like, I would be shocked if like Michin is just not in the Battle Royal. Then I would start to wonder, do they hate her that much? Or is it like an injury or whatever? But the people that are confirmed right now, at least according to Wikipedia and hey, Smark out moment, I trust that guy, are Stephanie Vaquer, Ivy Nile, Nia Jax, Nikki Bella, the Dungeon Dolls, Maxine Dupree and Natalia, Kalani Jordan, Jada Parker, Lola Vice, Lash Legend, Izzy Dame, Tatum Paxley, Julia, Candice LeRae, and Zelina Vega. And the winner of this Battle Royal gets a world title shot for Clash in Paris, because they really like this idea lately of advertising things for several months in advance. For the past year, that's been a thing of like, you get a match in 3 pay-per-views from now type. And SummerSlam happens in the meantime, but of course we know that Jade Cargill already has a world title shot against Tiffany Stratton, or maybe if Naomi cashes in the meantime. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. And we don't know who is going to be the women's champion heading into SummerSlam for the Raw side of things, because we got Io Sky and we got Rhea Ripley. It would have made sense a little bit for me for them to be like, the winner gets a shot at, SummerSlam if it's the Women's World Championship. But I guess they don't want to forecast that because it wouldn't be cross-branded or something. So if France has anything to do with this, I think that kind of rules out somebody like a Nikki Bella, to be honest. I think it definitely, at the very least, rules out anybody that we would assume would never be getting a title shot. Like, Ivy Nile is not winning this match. Obviously not. The NXT girls are not winning this match. As much as Candice LeRae is great, Candice LeRae is not going to fight for the Women's World Championship at Clash in Paris. I think this really only boils down to a few names, and more than anybody, I think it's really down to 2. It's either Stephanie Vaquer or it's Nia Jax.
You've never lost me in the second half of a statement so much. I hope it's not Nia Jax. Haven't we seen enough of Nia Jax? Just, hey, we have a month off of the thing we want to do for the WWE Women's Championship. Here's Nia.
I think that there's a good chance that Jade Cargill is champion heading in, and they give her Nia as her first opponent.
The only thing about that makes sense to me is the idea of, well, that way we have the next 2 months of the women's title scene sorted. For me, I think it boils down to it's either Nikki Bella or it's Stephanie Vaquer. Nikki Bella's advertised, or at least she was on a couple posters for SummerSlam.
Yeah, but not Clash in Paris.
That is true.
That's where this title shot's going.
But that could always change, though. They could just easily say, hey, guess what? Nikki's going to Paris. Don't you want to buy tickets now? Because, like, she's the legend and all that nonsense. Or it's just Stephanie. And then I go, well, at that point, why not just do Rhea Stephanie at SummerSlam? Why wait till Paris? So that aspect of it all is kind of throwing me off. But I think it's got to be one of those two.
think the wording kind of threw me off originally because I assumed it was just like World Championship as in Women's World Championship because currently the WWE Women's Championship is the only title that's being defended at SummerSlam. So I thought, why is it a Clash of Powers if it's going to be for the Women's World Championship? Surely then you can just have it. They can have that SummerSlam instead. But I guess it makes sense if they're trying to say, it could be for the SmackDown WWE Championship instead. But yeah, I'd say the out of the people that are currently announced, there's only 3 real standout options, and that's Vaquer, Jax, and Bella. Obviously, Julia would be a pick as well if she wasn't already United States champion, so it seems unlikely that she would go up to there as well, unless they really want to, like, they're using this as a platform to launch someone like a Lash Legend or a Jada Parker onto the main roster, which is, there's always a possibility of that happening.
Yeah, stranger things have happened. Like, I mean, look at somebody like Alexa Bliss. Like, she didn't win. She wasn't even really close to winning the NXT Women's Championship.
NXT
and then she
became SmackDown champion.
Right, yeah. So it's like it's a possibility, It's not 100% guaranteed that somebody can't break the mold.
And then we've already discussed it beforehand, but there is the Bianca Belair-sized hole on this card, which could be filled within her just winning the Battle Royal and getting a title shot, which would make sense if it was either Jade or Naomi who wins the title post SummerSlam.
Absolutely.
That she slots in naturally into that feud immediately. So if she is available to wrestle, I'd say if she is available to wrestle and she does show up in this Battle Royal, then she'll win.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really any real surprise. But out of the people that are currently announced, I think Vaquer makes the most sense. And it's just surprising because, like, realistically, I'd just be looking and think, there's no French woman in this match.
Yeah.
But did they not have any French women that they could sign?
Yeah, and as stupid as that is to say,
that's what they do.
That's part of what's throwing me off as well. It's like, wait, there's no, like, well,
where's Amelie when they need her?
It's Maurice.
Yeah.
Like she speaks French. But I think that's another reason why I picked Bella, because you never know what the fuck. Maybe they're shooting a reality show and they're going, oh my god, we're in Paris for Nikki's big match. You never know.
I can't think of any other, like, French specifically. Yeah.
Not going to go Andre, are they? So.
Well, my pick right now, before SmackDown potentially changes anything, I still think that it makes a little bit more sense that it would go to Stephanie Vaquer, and that they just want to do Stephanie versus, I guess, Rhea. But yeah, if Bianca does get announced, like, then Bianca becomes my number one. But ultimately, what are your gun to your head type picks?
Gun to my head, I'm going Nikki Bella, unless Bianca gets announced.
Yeah, I think gun to my head even now, even before, on my official predictions, I'm going to say it's Bianca Belair, even if she doesn't make it. Well, if she does make it, obviously she won't win. But, like, right now, I'd say that the prediction is that I'll just say Bianca Belair will win. So
I would agree with that. I'm just stating the obvious that she isn't booked, but if Bianca's there, Bianca wins.
Yeah. Let's pivot over to Jade Cargill versus Naomi. It's a no-holds-barred match, which should be the end of their feud, but it's totally not going to be. And that's because Naomi has the Money in the Bank briefcase. We know that Jade has this title match set up for SummerSlam. Now, technically speaking, it could be against Tiffany Stratton, it could be against Trish Stratus, or it could be against Naomi, depending on who walks out of there. And that's why I kind of want to factor that in too. So Trish and Tiffany have their match for the Women's Championship. I see a lot of people, and I know that you're defending this point of view a little bit too, Rob, when it comes to Goldberg can win and then get cashed in on by Seth Rollins, and then Trish can win and get cashed in on by Naomi. I do not think that there's any chance that Trish beats Tiffany Stratton.
I don't think there's a chance of that. I would, first of all, let me just say, I would love for Trish to have a small run with the WWE Women's Championship. But I can't imagine a world where we see, hey everyone, it's Trish versus Jade Cargill.
Yeah.
So, like, Tiffany has to win. But that being said, I don't think Naomi's cashing in here. Unless, and this would be stupid, unless the idea was Jade beats her, and then she's like, well, I'm going to cash in and win, so I make sure I get another match with Jade. It makes more sense for her to just eventually either cash in on Jade or cash in, preventing Jade from winning.
I mean, this match for the no holds barred match makes total sense because I think that in a way all Jade Cargill matches are no holds barred matches because she doesn't seem to use them anyway. But I think that as a few jokes aside, I think that it probably works in their favour. There's a lot you can throw a lot of smoke and mirrors to help prevent Jade being exposed too much. I think that, get to throw Naomi through a couple of Slim Jim tables, and everyone gets to be happy about that.
God, I hate that.
I think that Jade will just win because you need to just keep her momentum going heading into the title match at SummerSlam. If you then parlay that into the potential of a cash-in in the Women's Championship match or after the Women's Championship match, I think it's highly, highly unlikely, as Rob says. Naomi's cash-in should be, if you want to extend the feud, it should be in an attempt to derail Jade's title challenge or to take her out once she's won the title, rather than, because the whole story would be a bit weird if it's like Naomi loses twice in a row to Jade Cargill and then she decides to take down Tiffany to then say, okay, now you've got to face me again. It's like, why would she do that? She knows she can't beat Jade Cargill because she's lost to her twice in a row. So you would have her win the title from Jade to stick it to her and then pretty much try and consistently refuse to defend the title against her. That's the natural story that this should progress to. And then get Bianca involved when she's available to do so. So, yeah, just combining both of those things. Jade beats Naomi, Tiffany retains the title over Trish Stratus in hopefully a good match, but we'll have to just wait and see with that one.
I mean, what I would like to see is Jade loses to Naomi because Naomi has taken on Lash Legend as a heater. That's what I would like to see.
But she holds the Money in the Bank briefcase, and as we know, as soon as you hold the Money in the Bank briefcase, you just lose.
We can't buck tradition even once. Hey, I got a question. I'm dead serious here. At WWE Fanatics Fest in New Jersey, they were doing fans can enter through WWE Superstars theme songs. On that specific list, Tamina was listed as an active competitor, while Finn Balor the Demon was listed as inactive or a legend. Is Tamina still on the roster, really? Can we get Tamina and Naomi back together? What are we doing here? But
when the hell was Tamina last shown?
I think it's been
3 years ago or something.
Yeah, I think it's been at least 3 years.
Wherever it was still too soon.
But as we know, nobody's Tamina.
Well, I'll throw another random question again as a distinction about the lack of care for the women's side of things. Why does Naomi not have a custom briefcase and Steph does?
She does.
I think they just haven't debuted it.
Oh, she does now. Oh, she does. Okay.
Oh, did they debut?
That's based on me.
She's got the caution tape stuff.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
good.
okay.
Good for her.
Okay, that's probably just on me not watching as
well, they debuted Seth's way later than I thought they would have.
Yeah.
They gave a good month.
It's because literally the only time I've seen Naomi attempt to cash in, she seems to only have had the still white and green one. So, but
I'm glad they gave her a custom case, and I still think she should win. I think, like I said, I would like to see Lash Legend come on board as her heater, or take one of the girls from LFG, like Bayley Humphrey, or the name escapes me, the Big Simone.
It does feel like, again, it's another trope that they lean into. Like we've seen that already with the Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez thing. So I will say that if they do keep doing that, it's just a case of, does Triple H only have 3 storyline ideas?
I mean, yeah, I think
them in a cycle.
I think most people have 3 beats that they just.
Most of them probably do, but it's just it feels so apparent in this one. It's like a case of, heel wins title via cash-in or devious means, gets bigger woman to defend her and make sure that she doesn't lose the title, rinse, repeat, year in, year out. It's
It
like,
turns out that Triple H also only booked Shawn Michaels.
because you got that already. You had Liv and Raquel, and now technically Roxanne and Raquel, even though I don't think that's the same sort of partnership. But then you also have Chelsea with her two sidekicks, the two hench women doing stuff for her, and then if you get Naomi doing the same thing with like a Lash Legend. I mean, what's next? It'll be Tiffany turns heel and gets Izzy Dane to do it for her, and like loads of other stuff. Just always be on the lookout for them to hire tall, jacked women.
Yeah.
And that'll be the route.
I mean, well, it's a noted formula. I mean, China got Triple H over.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not like a thing to do. I'm just saying
I know
probably isn't the only thing you should do with your heel women.
They're just like, we're holding tryouts for Diesel.
Yeah. But yeah, those are my predictions for these matches anyway.
I'm gonna go Naomi. I might change my mind when we get to the actual predictions, but I think Naomi's
right.
Yeah. And yeah, Tiffany's winning. There's no way Trish is winning.
Yeah.
I'm going the same route. Tiffany's definitely beating Trish. They're doing the whole Trish raises her hand afterward thing. Jade beats Naomi. It seems like that feud is over with, but of course Naomi's going to rear the whole Money in the Bank briefcase thing in the future. And then we're going to start looking into, Jade can't really lose momentum because she is Queen of the Ring and she is getting the title shot. And it'll be like, all right, maybe Tiffany comes out afterward and poses with the championship, or if, whatever match comes first, maybe like Jade comes out at the end of Tiffany's match and it's like, I see you, I've got that match later. Then the commentary team could be like, well, remember everybody, these two are going to clash at SummerSlam, and that kind of deal. I don't anticipate a title change happening for the Women's Intercontinental Championship either. It's a triple threat match. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria challenging Becky Lynch. Far too much has been emphasized about Bayley and Lyra not getting along for it to not turn out as Becky capitalizes off of that and gets a pin on one of those two.
I would love to see the belt change hands here, but I think Becky just got it, so it would be too soon for Bayley to pick it up. Unless you have Bayley pin Lyra and then Becky complains, you didn't beat me. But I think smart money says Becky Lynch. This should be fun. And this is also the one that I'm seeing people claim should main event the show. And while I kind of get it in the sense that this has the most story and it does feature Becky and Bayley, the women's IC title isn't main eventing.
This is 100% the best built match on the entire show. I think that it's been extended pretty much like beyond like before WrestleMania with the Bayley and Lyra kind of tandem, and then potentially meant to be going for the tag titles at WrestleMania before the injury and the switch to Becky Lynch. But they have done a really good job of like keeping all these players involved, and it makes total sense for Becky to retain. She's only held the title for a short period of time right now. You can obviously, as Tony rightly says, play off the Bayley and Lyra miscommunication and not willing to get on the same page. So they've kind of established that well in advance. So that's, in a way, that's a good thing, because it means that we're not going to have this weird scenario where it's the two baby faces teaming up against the heel, which doesn't really work in a triple threat match very often. But so instead, it will just be a far more conventional three-way match. Becky will retain, but I think that I have probably, outside of one other match, the highest hopes in terms of match quality for this one.
Same here. I think that the women's world title match is the only one that could exceed it.
I do. Is there any debate for you guys as to what's headlining the show? Because I could see a world where Trish, Tiffany could headline. I could see a world where this match would, but I think it's just Mommy's on top. Just the way I see the show ending.
No, I think that's the main event.
I think you should have a world title match be the main event, and that's the world title match which has both 2 stars for now and the more likely one for a title change to happen. So yeah, it should main event. But, yeah, this triple threat match should be good, and Becky will retain. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll save the Io and Rhea thing for a little bit later on. Let's pivot over to the Fatal 4-Way for the tag team titles. Obviously not the plan that they originally had in mind. I don't know what they would have planned to do, to be perfectly honest. Because having Liv Morgan interrupt Nikki Bella, like, would it have just been the tag titles are not on the line and it's Liv Morgan against Nikki Bella in a singles match? That seems really stupid. But
Gun in my head, I'm
no
thinking,
Brie, like,
gun in my head, I'm thinking the plan was either they get Brie and they do the Bella Twins, or hey Io, you're dropping the belt, and you're getting Nikki potentially wins women's world title to drop it to Rhea at SummerSlam.
I don't know. Whatever it was, though.
I do think you put way too much stock into just Nikki Bella was pretty famous 10 years ago. So I agree with you that she deserves more credit for that than some people give, but like, come on, we need to move on eventually.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that from my eyes. I'm saying that from the eyes of the company.
Yeah, and then the eyes of the company, having seen that Liv Morgan, who is like obviously a big player, but like not the most absolute crucial player, gets injured, and their response is to throw Nikki Bella in a battle royal. So the fact they couldn't think of anything better for Nikki Bella to do makes you feel like, yeah, probably not putting the world title on her anytime soon.
I imagine that the story as soon as she got hurt was, hey, we don't need to worry about Brie anymore. We'll just throw Nikki in the battle royal. But before that, they were trying to get Brie in so she could do the tag.
In any case, the tag titles are being defended in a Fatal 4-Way, which wasn't their plan. Like, guaranteed they weren't setting that up in the same way that it's played out here with Roxanne involved and all. But it's Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez defending against another team from Raw, which ended up being Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, a team from NXT, Ruca and Zaria, and a team from SmackDown, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. A new team, but, hey, you got to get them on the card. It makes sense with telling this story and doing the usual pair 2 people up that have nothing else better to do. And, it's run-of-the-mill WWE stuff. Zaruca is not winning. Not a chance. I mean, Ruca is not winning her 3rd championship on this thing. And technically speaking, she could lose the North American Championship to Izzy Dame, but still, they're not winning this. Kabuki Warriors, I don't think are going to be the new women's champions either. I think that they're mostly here because you got to get them on the card too, and it makes sense for them to represent Raw. They're the best women's tag team you could throw in there. I think there's a chance that Flair and Bliss win, but there's a little bit of a bigger part of me that thinks that Raquel and Roxanne are going to retain because they just love keeping these belts on the Judgment Day. And they just gave the women's or the men's tag team titles back to Finn Balor and JD McDonough. They like having, quote unquote, all the gold on the Judgment Day. And it's going to be a little while before any of them lose any of that. Dominic Mysterio is on this hiatus right now from some kind of a rib injury. The Balor and McDonough team, it would be weird if they just dropped it right back, because then why did you put the belts on them to begin with? And I don't think that they planned to have those titles change hands just so Raquel and Roxanne could lose them. That kind of forces Roxanne to not have earned her way in. And then we're still telling the story that, it's just cycling the same exact thing instead of progressing the story a little bit more. So I'm anticipating Raquel or Roxanne pins Ruca or Zaria. Or actually, I mean, technically they could pin Kairi Sane, but Zaruca is kind of coming across to me as they might take the pin.
I think the goal here for each team is you had to get Asuka on the card, and I prefer Kabuki Warriors to another option like the Dungeon Dolls, let's say. So I think that was a great choice. They would be great champions. They have been in the past, but I'm going either Flair and Bliss are winning, or they just love this Judgment Day story. If it wasn't for the fact that the Judgment Day is tied into Raquel and Roxanne, I would say 100% Flair and Bliss. But they love the Judgment Day dissension thing. I will also say, though, they are making a big deal where Raquel keeps going, guys, like Liv's going to be back really soon. She's rehabbing every day. And Finn keeps doing the whole, no, I was out for 8 months. She's going to be gone forever. And I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like, all right, so is she popping up in a couple weeks? You know? Or what's the deal with that? Because they are really heavy-handed on Finn thinks Liv is gone for like a year. And then, you know, Raquel, who's supposedly talking to her, is like, that's not the case. Also, Charlotte and Alexa would just be on every brand if they win, and I always think that's a benefit to these titles. You get Charlotte on every show, you get Bliss on every show. It's a good reason to put it on them right there. And they have the most intriguing story out of the 4 here, so I'd like to see them win. And the more I talk about it, I am thinking I'm going to predict them.
I think this is the opportune moment to dust off an old classic from 2016 until about 2018, 2019. You never bet against Charlotte Flair, and you never bet against Alexa Bliss.
And you're putting them both together.
As much as anything makes sense one way or another, they're inevitable, essentially, at one point or another. And I think it's changed slightly in the fact that they're now more of a veteran status, and there's new people that have risen up above them in the main event scene. But forming them as a tag team, they're clearly trying to do something with this combination. I don't know what the full extent of it is yet. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think they know. I don't think Charlotte and Alexa know. But eventually they want to do something significant with this. And usually part of their route into, well, a common route into doing that is to make them tag team champions, continue the thing for a while until they drop the titles, and then you just launch the feud between them. So I think that that's just the natural route they'll take. The only question is whether it happens here or it happens at SummerSlam or some other event down the line where it's more of a one-on-one match between the Judgment Day and Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. So they are going to win the tag titles. It's pretty much written at this point that they'll win it eventually. It's just whether it happens on this show or it happens somewhere a bit further down the road. That's the only real deciding factor. I don't see Zaruca winning. I don't see the Kabuki Warriors winning, as much as they are a great team, but I don't think either of them will be holding the titles right now. So yeah, it's between the top 2 teams, and I probably will go with Flair and Alexa right now, just because I think that they're going quite heavy-handed with that story, and so it makes more sense to put the titles on them now. And with the Judgment Day thing, you can always just pull that into Liv gets pissed off that Roxanne, in her first real title defense with the belt, loses it, and that can help fuel their implosion. So
yeah, and I'd also say that even though, you know, it is the tried and true statement, it's been a lot of years since Bliss in particular has held anything, and it's not like Charlotte came back and was just dunking on everybody. I think you can give them a win here, and it's not like eye-rollingly frustrating. I think it's actually a good wrinkle to their story.
The tag team titles for the women's division is very hard to judge here and there because they're so flippant about it. Sometimes they seem like they really want to put some effort into it, and then like the next week, it already feels like they don't care. And we can go from like a team like Bianca and Jade, where it's like they're the focal point for a specific reason to be like, okay, well, you know, we want to give Jade some more reps and we want to do something with Bianca, so let's do something along those lines. And this is giving them a prominent spot on the card without making them fight for the world title and all. And then other times it's like, we need somebody to be the champions. So who the fuck is not busy in catering right now? You know what I mean? Like, they fluctuate on this so crazily. So if they really, really like this Charlotte and Bliss combo, their plan could just be like, we don't want to run with that because it's so much, you know, that they're so into it. Or it could be like, well, we've got nothing for them to do, so let's tag them up and we'll figure it out next week, and they just keep pushing it. I'm currently going to say that Raquel and Roxanne retain, and I think that it's going to end in a way that they have another match with Bliss and Flair at SummerSlam, and that's when the belts change hands. Because SummerSlam's 2 nights. And I keep forgetting about that. I think some other people are forgetting about that too. Not necessarily you guys, but like, I think a lot of people are forgetting that they're going to have to SummerSlam, or they're going to have to WrestleMania SummerSlam in some ways. So a lot of belts are going to be on the line that wouldn't normally be. And I think that that's a way to get Flair and Bliss on that card too. It's not how I would book things. I don't like booking rematch scenarios, but I think that, I think we're looking in that direction a little bit more. So if they do something on SmackDown that kind of points a little bit more towards Raquel and Roxanne retaining, like if they do one of those segments, which they very well could, where it ends up being like all of these teams are in the ring, everybody fights, and then Raquel and Roxanne stand tall, then I'm going to predict that it's Flair and Bliss. But if Flair and Bliss stand tall, I'm going to hit home even more. Raquel and Roxanne retain. That's where I'm going right now. Judgment Day retains.
The more you spoke, the more I just really felt solidified that it's Bliss and Flair, because SummerSlam is 2 nights. And guess what they don't do? Women's matches without championships. That's an easy way to get Flair and Bliss on the card, and they should probably be on the card.
Oh, what's your ultimate pick right now, Callum?
Flair and Bliss.
Poor Zaruca and Kabuki Warriors. we both, for both of them, I mean, all three of us were just kind of like, yeah, they're not winning.
Well, I said on the NXT podcast last night that I think Ruca shows out in such a way that they just go, yeah, we need her on the main roster. I think that's a good shot.
Hopefully
Also,
so.
like, it'd be a bit selfish for her to hold 3 championships at the same time.
Yeah. I mean,
if they do that with her, it's like, okay, what do you guys see in her that she's holding 3 titles?
Not only what would you see in her that she's holding 3 titles, but what do you see in her that she's holding 3 titles and she's not even on the main roster? Like, you're good enough to be a triple champion, but you still need some seasoning. Like, at that point, fucking put her on Raw or SmackDown. And I mean, I'd make that argument already. Like, Ruca is better than some of the people that are on Raw and SmackDown for sure.
I see a lot in her.
Yeah, she's
Zaria
great.
does as well. Zaria does as well.
We talked about almost every single match so far, but we have not talked about the other NXT scenario here. Jacy Jayne, she's going to be accompanied by the other members of...
lose the championship to Jordynne Grace.
The Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix have not been announced to be in the Battle Royal. They did take part in the Everybody's in the Battle Royal, we're all going to fight thing at the end of NXT last night, so maybe they do get thrown in there too, but I think that's more likely they're probably just hanging around here. Jacy Jayne's defending against Jordynne Grace, and it's not just for the NXT Women's Championship, it's also for who fights Masha Slamovich at TNA Slammiversary for a title for title match where the Knockouts title is also on the line. And that means we can't look at this as just who wins this and who fights going forward as the NXT Women's Champion. It's also got to factor in TNA. And between those 3 options of either Masha is your NXT and TNA Women's Champion, Jacy is your co-champion of both brands, or it's Jordynne, there is no part of me that thinks that Jordynne Grace is losing this.
I will say that they have presented Jacy versus Masha as a strong possibility on TNA TV. However, it's the idea that that match is title for title that throws me off. Because I could see a world where Blake Monroe screws over Jordynne Grace, is mad that she's, took her spotlight or whatever, and that's a feud. However, I can't imagine that suddenly, after not holding on to anything, Jayne is just champion of two promotions, and I don't even think they've let Masha wrestle on NXT, let alone she's suddenly going to be the champion. So that makes me say Jordynne Grace is going to win here and then win next week and be NXT and TNA champion, the way that it almost seems like they've been wanting to do for an entire year.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever get into like negative percentages in these predictions in terms of how likely we think someone's going to win or lose. I think you have to go a near 150% chance that Jordynne Grace is winning this championship. I think it's so telegraphed, and that's not a bad thing in this instance. I think it just has to happen, and I think it's not one of those cases like, oh, it's completely malpractice if they somehow have Jayne retain, whether that's through like Blake Monroe screwing her over or Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix getting involved. But I think it's just absolutely obvious that you switch the titles here. You give Jordynne Grace her obligatory 2-month run as champion before she inevitably drops it to Blake Monroe and then moves up to the main roster. So Blake Monroe can start her obligatory 2-month run as the NXT champion before dropping it to someone and then moving up to the main roster. So that's the cycle you go through. I think that, so I think that it's pretty much written in stone here that Jordynne Grace wins the title, get a title change, she becomes a double champion next week, and we move on.
If it's not Grace, who's the most likely person to hold both belts?
Oddly enough, I think Jacy.
I would think Jacy as well.
Because I don't think that they're going to be like, okay, well, we love Masha Slamovich so much in TNA, and we've got this idea in mind that we want to do this crossover thing because WWE wants Masha Slamovich, because they are not like incorporating her in anything. She popped up, I think, once on NXT to like be in the crowd, but when they like somebody from NXT, when they like somebody from TNA, it seems like they want to use them. Like they're using Mike Santana quite a bit lately, and that would indicate more to me than anything that, yeah, they probably want to sign Santana. They probably want to, I mean, we know for sure that they want to sign Joe Hendry. And Masha hasn't been given that same treatment. So that strikes me more as TNA was reaching out, being like, can we share somebody? Or WWE said, do you want to share somebody from NXT? Rather than, can we bring Masha and make her the champion? Because the other thing that goes with that, if Masha is the champion, she's beating Jacy. It's not going to be that she beats Jordynne again. And Jordynne's not going to win this title for the NXT Women's Championship. And then it's a week from now, same anniversary?
Yeah.
She's not going to be women's champion for NXT for 1 week and then drop it to Masha. It would have to be that Jacy beats Jordynne here and then Jacy loses to Masha. And I just can't see that happening. So then I go, okay, well, Jordynne has to win this. And then if it's Jordynne and Masha, then it's got to go Jordynne. Like it's sort of, the Jenga pieces fall in that kind of way. Yeah, there is a chance that maybe Fallon and Jasmine and maybe even Blake Monroe turns on Jordynne Grace and they do something. We talked about that for the NXT side of things, but Jordynne's fought for this belt a couple times. And she very easily could have won that championship from the very start. For her to lose to Stephanie Vaquer and to lose to Jacy Jayne here, I don't know. They like Jordynne too much for that. Jordynne's winning this. I'm more confident in Jordynne Grace winning this championship match than any other match that's on this card, except I think the Rhea Ripley and Io Sky match. Actually, no, the Tiffany Stratton one. Tiffany's 100% beating Trish. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
No, I'd say that they're both pretty much locks. I do also think that I hope that she doesn't, but I assume that she will get these muscle muffin chants that she's now been getting. It's like, wow, what a way to neuter a potential top star for giving her a chant like that.
Muscle muffin?
That was the Blake Monroe thing that when they did the segment, like Blake Monroe referred to her as her muscle muffin, and then the crowd chimed
Lord.
at her in the main event segment.
Good lord. Okay. All right.
Because no one can be serious in this company.
No, I guess not.
We ragged on it last night with the NXT breakdown. Those segments were fucking awful. They were really bad, and I'm not digging this Blake Monroe character as it is. Just, I mean, it's very much what we said before. It seems like it's just Timeless Toni Storm, and I haven't been loving the Timeless Toni Storm character. So it's the same thing, but more PG. So it's less interesting. And then for it to be like, how do we do the two of these characters together? Oh, we're going to have them do a spa day. And Jordynne Grace is like, why is this person touching me on a massage? You mean to tell me you've never had a massage before? What? Like, come on.
Why are they making Jordynne Grace Zaria? Whatever. Like,
yeah. They didn't eat ice cream. So
the ice cream last night.
yeah. Jacy's a transitional champion though. And, good for her to win that championship and get that pat on the back. But yeah, she's dropping it here. And I feel like this is one of the few things that they were thinking a few weeks ago. Okay, we're going to have a big title change. This is one of those things. It's not as big as the other one that's going to happen, but Jordynne Grace standing tall, holding the NXT Women's Championship, and then eventually she's going to be holding the Knockouts title at the same time. Sounds about right.
Everybody loves multiple champions in wrestling in 2025.
It seems to be the thing. You can't go more than I guess, a few weeks where every championship is on one person. It's got to be, you have to have at least one person in each brand that has multiple titles. Mercedes, Zaruca. We're going to get Jordynne soon enough. I don't know why that's a trend, but it is. But I think the big thing that's ending this show, well, the big match that's ending this show is Io Sky against Rhea Ripley. And since the story's been said over and over and over again, Io Sky beats Rhea Ripley every single time. Rhea's winning this title. She's going to get the congratulations Rhea thing. And even though it'll make no sense. And they do this all the time though. Io shouldn't be happy to lose the title. It'll be like, I'm so happy for you to finally beat me. And then everybody's going to come out and everybody's going to clap and celebrate. It's going to be like, wow, it's such great. This is a great way to cap off Women's Evolution 2.0 thing. And, I'd be shocked if it ends in any other kind of way.
Yeah, Rhea Ripley should win because she's the biggest women's wrestler in the world right now. She's one of the biggest wrestlers in the world, period. I don't believe in the casual fan, but people who don't, watch wrestling know who Rhea Ripley is because of social media. Like, she's the best they have in every way, and she should be on top at the end of the show. You can argue tomorrow or the day after the show about, oh, she's overpushed, wham. She's a top star. And she deserves whatever accolade she has.
Is definitely their biggest female star. There's absolutely no questioning that. Arguably, outside of people like Cena and Roman, their biggest star. But I think that she does fall short to Io in just pure match quality, but that doesn't matter as much. But yeah, I mean, the whole story they've told throughout this entire time is that Rhea can't beat Io one-on-one. That's the whole basis of this entire story and this entire feud. So eventually that has to come to an end, and they decide to make Evolution probably the big focal point for that. Is like the two best women they have right now from an in-ring perspective, outside of Bianca, which they've already had like the big triple threat match earlier this year as well. So take two components out of that, put them in the big world title match, have it main event the show, have the best match you possibly can, and have Rhea be crowned as champion. Just seems to make sense. It's a logical way to end this, and you don't have to turn Rhea, you don't have to turn Io in the process. It just Rhea wins the title and then goes on to defend it against someone at SummerSlam, whoever that may be. But no need to go into too much detail about that now. But it's a case of once we have the result confirmed, then we can speculate. But yeah, the very heavy likelihood is that Rhea Ripley wins the title here.
It does factor in, though. I mean, there's nobody that stands out to me as the obvious pick to be facing Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. And we were talking before about
really.
Right, yeah, we were talking before about the idea that if Asuka would have won Queen of the Ring, then it would have been, okay, well, Asuka and Io makes perfect sense. It could be Asuka. It could be somebody that, like, gets brought over from another brand, or maybe they have some kind of plan for, like, boosting up somebody else on Raw or whatever. Off the top of my head, I can't be like, okay, well, the biggest match is Rhea Ripley versus blank at SummerSlam. At the very least.
Yeah, I think, and Callum could be 100% right. Maybe I am overthinking it, but I think until I see otherwise, it's Rhea Bella at one of these two upcoming shows. Because other than that, they have like nothing going on. What are you gonna do? Plug in Roxanne as the I'll beat Rhea for you, Dom? Like what? I don't really want to see that.
I think sillier things happen. But again, it's just a case of like they just don't have other people built up. The only people they really have built up are Io and Rhea on the Raw side of things. You have Liv as well, but Liv's injured, and you don't really want to just go straight back to a Rhea and Liv story because like that just smacks of complete lack of building any other star. So yeah, you can slot a Roxanne in. I mean, realistically, Rhea's going to win this title. If she does win this title on this show, she's not dropping it till WrestleMania. Like, yeah. That's just the way, because that's the way they handle things. They don't, like, title changes almost always for the big titles take place at either SummerSlam or WrestleMania, and that's about it. So, unless there's cash involved. But, yeah, this one's like, it's not SummerSlam, but it's SummerSlam adjacent. So, you have the title change here, and then she will drop it at WrestleMania, and then in the meantime, she'll just beat a bunch of people that she's clearly going to beat until you build up that WrestleMania match against, I don't know, Stephanie Vaquer or something. But, yeah, right now, there's no one. Yeah, you're right, there is no one that can beat Rhea Ripley, but at the end of the day, that's like that's the case with anyone that wins a world title, and in their first couple of months afterwards these days, you never expect them to lose the title straight away. That's just the way it works. You just have to hope the matches they have are good along the way, and the stories they tell are good along the way.
The thing that'll piss me off is if we get another, and there are going to be 4 triple threats to determine who will face Rhea at SummerSlam.
Oh yeah, this big tournament company, WWE. God, again, another accusations that used to be thrown at AEW's way. There too many tournaments. Now WWE is literally all tournaments, it feels like.
And then it's going to be like Asuka wins. Not that I'm saying I wouldn't want to see Asuka versus Rhea, but I want a sense of jeopardy. You know what I mean? Like, I want to believe that somebody might beat her. Even if you go, okay, Charlotte's the new women's tag champion, and she's going to try to pull double duty on SummerSlam because it's a 2-night event. I could get down with that.
One of the bad things that's really hindering them right now is Raw and SmackDown. Everybody's feuded with each other a million times. Because it's like, they'll probably default to Raquel and be like, all right, there's Raquel and Rhea again. And it's like, motherfucker, they just had a whole big no DQ street fight thing or whatever at this last Saudi thing. They fought 19 times. Don't care anymore. Or at that point, then who else do you have? You can't pull the trigger on somebody like, say, Ivy Nile again. It's like the Ivy's got no momentum. You can't build her up in that way. Liv Morgan is not going to be back in time for SummerSlam. Bayley, Becky, and Lyra, they're all in a feud together. So it'd be pretty weird if one of them just suddenly starts feuding with Rhea instead. But then the same is exactly true when it comes to Io. Io can't really go up against the same few people anyway. So I kind of feel like they need somebody different. And the only person who's different that you can do anything with on Monday Night Raw right now is Stephanie Vaquera. And if she wins that Battle Royal, that's the title match for Clash in Paris, not for SummerSlam. I'm hoping we're not in a scenario where they end up being like, we don't have a plan for Rhea. So at SummerSlam, she's going to be in some non-title match. And it'll be like Rhea teams with Stephanie because those two are going to have the match in fucking whenever. When's Clash in Paris? It's September or something?
It's September, right?
I'm assuming like probably first week of September. It's let me double check. August 31st. So I could see
Raquel and Roxanne. Yeah.
Yep, I could see that being the case. And then it's like, for this entire month, we're going to tell the story of Rhea and Stephanie have, Stephanie fights Raquel. Stephanie fights Roxanne. Rhea fights Raquel again. Rhea fights Roxanne again. Now they're in a tag team match. And then, like, let's do every permutation of this as possible and do that for no reason. Which that in and of itself could mean that the Judgment Day lose the tag team titles. Or that could be the way that you do something with, Flair and Bliss separately or whatever. I don't know. But I still think that no matter what, this is ending with Rhea Ripley winning this championship for me. And overall, as far as Evolution is concerned, of course, Sunday is when this event is happening. So we're going to see if we're right, if we're wrong, if there's any surprises, anything along those lines. So live coverage on smarkoutmoment.com, eWrestling News, and The Ring Report, and a post show immediately following Evolution on Sunday night. I'm more looking forward to this card than I am any other card other than AEW. That's not necessarily to say that I'm like super right. Yeah. It's not like it's like, oh man, I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat for this Evolution card. But when you look at the alternatives like Great American Bash, yeah, of course I'm more interested in Evolution, So give us your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you agree, disagree with, anything along those lines. Make sure that you do all this marketplace stuff that I mentioned before. Make sure that you hit up the Discord channels as well. And make sure that you check out all the different things at amangotree.com to find the different social links of mine that you can follow and subscribe to and so on and so forth. Follow me at Tony Mango and a good portion of them. Follow Robin Callum too.
Yep, follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check out my work on Fightful.com. I mean, maybe they don't do an Evolution post show and I can actually review Evolution with Tony. That'd be fun. I miss being on the post shows for these things, but I'm usually busy working, so we'll see how that goes.
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at WeekMost14. Check out the power rankings every single Saturday over on smarkoutmoment.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And while you're there, you can head over to the Fantasy League, because Evolution will very much so impact Fantasy League, both from a heavy point scoring perspective, but also from predictions as well, which will help determine if somebody gets additional trades or gets a bit of a bonus onto one of their competitors going into SummerSlam. So make sure you follow along to see who wins the prediction contest and how that affects their fantasy team moving forward. So follow that along at wwefantasyleague.com.
Okay, everybody, you know the deal with the next round of this podcast. That's going to be the hot tags. So that's where we're going to get into our dedicated discussion about Saturday night's main event, ROH Supercard of Honor, break down some other things that are TV based, although based off of the fact that we've done so much of this already, like we already talked about effectively everything that happened on Raw that's worth talking about and everything that happened on NXT. So Dynamite is going to potentially add some more matches to the AEW All In Texas card, and that'll be something that we address. And after the hot tags, we've got Saturday and everything on Sunday and all too. So stay tuned, and we will see you when we see you. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.